D-Lo 404 Boxing. All right, y'all. So as we're into the fourth quarter of 2020 and the year starts to wind down, the welterweight title picture in terms of who's the man at 147 pounds is starting to shape up. I mean, right now Errol Spence Jr. looks to sit atop the division, the only unified champion. Has the best resume in terms of who he's beaten at 147 pounds in current history. Of course, Manny Pacquiao has some great wins as well. So, I mean, I guess it's neck and neck, but Pacquiao's not as active, so to speak. And most of Pacquiao's big wins at 147 pounds happened years ago. Of course, he has a recent win over Broner, and then he just got that win over Thurman, first man to beat Keith Thurman. Quite an accomplishment. That said, he still got Bud Crawford out there as the WBO champion, who's getting ready to fight Kell Brook, who also has faced Errol Spence Jr. and took a loss, his first loss at 147 pounds, to Errol Spence Jr. And then, and Manny's the WBA champion. Let me go back and add that. Manny's the WBA champion. Thurman is the Spence is the WBC and IBF champions. So those are the four major belts at 147 pounds. Crawford and Spence have talked ad nauseum about wanting to fight each other, but the fight hasn't come to fruition. According to Bob Arum, Manny Pacquiao and Terrence Crawford were very close to having a fight come to fruition in Qatar, over in the Middle Eastern area. But that fight couldn't happen because of the health organization over there just wasn't going to allow the fight with fans. So that fight didn't come to fruition, according to Bob Arum. But we know we're at least a couple fights out before Spence and Crawford fight one another. And that's granted that everyone keeps winning. But what I do want to speak on is Manny Pacquiao hasn't fought since he dethroned Keith Thurman for that WBA Super Championship. When Pacquiao came into the fight himself as the WBA regular, second tier champion. Anyway, Pacquiao hasn't fought, hasn't defended his title, hasn't fought a voluntary, hasn't fought a mandatory, nothing. He hasn't even really spoke much about fighting. Well, he comes out today and made a post on Twitter saying that he's in the mood to fight. Or he feels like fighting, however he phrased it, which that's good news. I hope Manny Pacquiao makes a fight with one of the top guys at 147 pounds, preferably one of the other champions. Hopefully it's Terrence Crawford. That gives Crawford the opportunity to come into that fight with Spence whenever they make the fight, both guys having two titles, or it gives Manny Pacquiao a chance to go into a Spence fight with two titles. Or he could fight Spence, and Spence will have three titles, and he'll face the WBO champion at some point, whoever that is at the time, for undisputed. That's what I hope for. But either way it goes, and I don't want to say that Danny Garcia isn't capable of beating Errol Spence Jr. I mean, Danny could be the guy coming in there, whatever the case may be. But either way it goes, Manny Pacquiao has not been pressured to fight any of these young guys, these other champions, these young contenders. Yes, he fought Keith Thurman, great win for him, but since that point, it's been nothing. Now, I get that COVID and all of that happened, and a lot of guys are inactive, but, somebody in Manny Pacquiao's position, he would be fighting. If Manny Pacquiao was trying to make a fight, they would find a way to make a fight for Pacquiao. What I will say is, when Floyd Mayweather was in his 40s and he was on his way out of the sport, there was an immense amount of pressure for him to fight the up-and-coming young fighters. And those same fighters are some of the same guys that are around today, but they were younger, and they were hungrier, and they were probably more dangerous than they are now. And I'm talking about the Sean Porter, Keith Thurmans, the Danny Garcias. But with Manny Pacquiao, there's not a lot of pressure for him to fight those guys. Yes, he got the win over Thurman, but there's no pressure for him to fight Spence. No pressure for him to fight Garcia. No pressure for him to fight Ugas. No pressure for him to fight Bud. I want to see these fights made, but the pressure has to be applied for that to happen. That's all I got to say on the subject. D-Lo 404 Boxing, I'm out.